welcome back to Gratitude Level Up Week 3. Y'all, we are halfway through. Thank you for coming back. Thank you for being a part of this. Thank you for watching and for being engaged and for hanging out with me. Oh man, you have no idea how much it's appreciated. If you're just tuning in and this is video number 1 for you, go ahead and stop this video and rewind it, go back to video number 1. The reason why I say that is because these videos build on each other, and you will get more out of this series if you start with video number 1. So what have we talked about so far? Video number 1, we talked about what is physical gratitude. Video number 2, we talked about what does physical gratitude look like at my job. And today we are going to talk about what does physical gratitude at home look like and why does it matter? So let's recap on last week because we have a lot of ground to cover in this video and I want to make sure we hit all of it. So last week we talked about expectations, right? What expectations do I have for gratitude at work? Why am I grateful for my job? And how can we better appreciate those around us? How can we better appreciate our teams and our colleagues? How can you and I do a better job of looking like this within our professional organizations rather than having this attitude of expectancy and dependency on one person being the giver of gratitude? And how does that affect increased productivity and improved employee morale within our organizations? So this week we're going to talk about gratitude at home. And to start off, I want you to answer these questions, okay? What is our natural response after a long day when we get home, right? Last week we talked about how the majority of our time is spent probably at our office, right? It's where we do the majority of our life. Like 9 to 5 is a long time. So what is our natural response after a long day when we get home? Second thing I want you to think about, are our actions intentional, okay? Intentional towards our families, okay? Or are they a byproduct of our long day? Are our actions intentional towards our families, or are they a byproduct of our long day? Okay? The third thing I want you to consider right now is how are we currently communicating that we value our families? What are we doing right now to let our family know that we love them? Let's talk about value, okay? Let's talk about value at its very basic level, at its definition. What does value mean? Value, the definition of value, is the regard that something is held to deserve. The importance, worth, or usefulness of something. Are we doing a worthwhile, a great, a notable job within our households of communicating our family's worth? Because that's what value is, it's worth. This is not something that you and I should be taking lightly. If you get nothing else out of this series, get this. Communicating the value and the worth that we give and see our family members as holding is worth telling them about. It is important that our family members know that we value them and that they are worth it to us. If you get nothing else, I want you to get that. So like the current cycle of what life looks like at home for a lot of us is this like cyclical thing. We can't really break this cycle of wake up, go to work, start my day. It's the day. I've got my daily routines, hurdles and challenges. They're exhausting. Now I've come home and I'm exhausted. I'm so exhausted. I'm so tired. I've faced all these challenges and I fought all these battles during the day. And now I'm tired and I'm home and all I can do is think about maybe watching TV or chilling out, and I just want to shut down and I want to sleep. And then I wake up tomorrow and I get ready and I go to work, and I'm during work or during my day I face challenges and I'm tired and I'm fighting battles, and I come home and I'm even more tired and I just want to relax and go to sleep. And so I shut down and I go to sleep, and then I wake up and I start my day and I go to work and I fight battles and I face You see what I'm saying? There's like this cycle, right? And it seems to be filled with exhaustion and fighting battles and coming home and doing none of that. We come home and it's like home has become this haven of rest, which it should, right? It should be our center for refocusing, refueling, and resting. But if all we're doing is resting, if all we're doing is shutting down because of exhaustion, that doesn't leave much room for us to communicate that we value our family with them, right? That doesn't, shutting down after a long day, while sometimes necessary, consistently done does not communicate to the people within our households that we love them and that we value them and that we are aware and acknowledging of their worth. So my question is, how do we break this, right? Like, how do we get out of this funk? What do we do? Couple of things. I would say that passion, right? Passion should be present in the daily routine of life. Duh, right? Like, most of the time, and I would hope that this is the case for you as a viewer right now, you do something during the day that you love. And the battles that you fight and the challenges you face and the hurdles you overcome while doing it are not done with, a begrudging attitude, but you look at it as a challenge accepted and a fight well fought because it's something you're passionate about, and these goals that you're working to achieve, though they're time consuming and they can be stressful sometimes, you face it with an air of optimism and positivity because you're doing something you love, right? Passion should be a part of the day to day. Duh. So why is our family, why is our household less deserving than our businesses, our companies, our coworkers, our teams of that same passion? If we can passionately conquer our day and do it so well that we literally are just worn out by the end of it, why is our family any less deserving of that same passion? So let's look at two kind of at-home relationship dynamics, okay? First, let's look at kind of partners within your household. So like spouses, significant others, whatever, okay? Let's look at that. Okay. So there was a study done by Nathaniel Lambert. He did two studies that we're going to talk about. The first one we're going to talk about looked at the relationship between gratitude and what's referred to as communal strength, okay? So communal strength is basically how responsible you and I feel for another person's well-being. Okay, so an example of this. When there's really, really high communal strength in a relationship, one person is willing to sacrifice a lot personally in order to benefit their partner. Does that make sense? When there is a high sense of communal strength in a relationship, somebody is willing to sacrifice a lot for that other person. Okay, so within this study, a whole bunch of people were asked how often they express gratitude toward their partner, right? Their romantic partner, their spouse, their boyfriend, girlfriend, whoever. Basically, it was just how often are you expressing gratitude in your most intimate, your closest relationship? And most of the time for the study, it was somebody's partner. Okay, so 6 weeks later, they sent a follow-up survey to everybody they originally asked about their relationships. the more people said in the beginning that they expressed gratitude, the stronger they said their relationships were 6 weeks later. So that's pretty cool, right? So the partnerships, if you will, that were consistently and continually expressing gratitude had stronger relationships, an increased level of this communal strength, which is pretty cool. So let's talk about Lambert's second study. So the second study, what happened was the participants were asked in the study to complete a simple friendship exercise for 3 weeks. There were 3 groups of people, okay? And each group was asked to participate in one of these exercises. It is worth noting that the groups of people, or the way that these exercises were assigned, it was in random. There was nothing, there wasn't like some identifiable trait that made these groups what they were. No, these were just like pools of people. There were lots of different people and 3 pools of people, okay? 3 pools of people, 3 different exercises. So a third of the participants received an instruction to do the first exercise. And all the instructions were to pay attention to what you do for 3 weeks. Pay attention for what you do for 3 weeks. That's it. The second exercise for another third of the participants was they were told to actively express more gratitude. And this instruction or exercise was given with the kind of the addendum of something you wouldn't normally do to express gratitude. Maybe this is verbal or in writing. So these people, this third of people, were instructed to kind of do something spontaneous associated with expressing gratitude. And to do more of it. Not to just do it once, but to do more of it. And the third group of people, so the last third, they were told to think about how grateful they were for their partner. Okay? So they were just told to think about it. They were not instructed to do something about it, but they were just told to think about it. So what they found was, and again, this relationship is being done with the notion of these people were like in some sort of partnership, right? Like maybe it was a very intimate friendship, like a partner, spouse, whatever. Like this exercise was done. The idea being, for those that were told to express more gratitude, it was amongst one another. Or the third exercise, think about why you're grateful for your partner. It was done in relation to the other person in the relationship, if that makes sense. It wasn't just like abstract and general, think about what you're grateful for. No, it was, why are you grateful for this person? So at the end of the 3 weeks, what they discovered was the relationships that the people who were in relationships that were in that second pool of people, the people who were told to actively express more gratitude, their friendships or relationships or whatever you want to call them, were stronger. So what's the secret here, right? What's the point? Expressing gratitude creates stronger relationships within our partnerships. Like, that's a big deal. And those are normally the people who are in our households. Those are the people who we come home to at the end of every day. Those are the people who probably don't get as much of our passion as our coworkers get. Acting on why we appreciate them, though, compensates and creates a stronger relationship. Right? That's the point here. So let's move on. Let's talk about another relationship within our households. This relationship being geared towards children. Okay? So let me kind of refocus here, pull up the study that we're going to talk about. So there's a whole lot of research around how physical, intentional gratitude and being aware of appreciation is perceived and thought of by children, there's a lot of research behind why it's important, right? It's important to create a culture of appreciation and physical appreciation in our households while raising children. So actually there's some hard and true research that I'm going to share with you guys. Psychologists from UNC Duke and North Carolina State discovered and found that kids as young as like 6 recognize the difference between simply saying thank you and genuine gratitude. And the way that they found this out is kind of interesting. They talked to a whole bunch of kids, and the kids would say, she said thank you, but like she didn't mean it. Oh, how much can I relate to that childlike mentality, right? Like, you said thank you, or you said you were sorry, but you didn't mean it. Isn't that amazing that children as young as 6 can start to see that? They can start to kind of filter through and vet out if people are actually true and genuine with their intentions or they're not being sincere at all. The study looked at how parents actually were able to make gratitude a habit in their children. So this is where that conclusion came from. That was the point of the study, was how can parents make gratitude a habit amongst children? They gave some really great tips. The first being, model the behavior. Kids pay really special attention and close attention to what their parents say and how they say it. Are your intentions genuine? Are they sincere? Are you being honest? Or are you just like saying something to say it? Another great tip that the psychologist gave was, talk about gratitude. This makes kids more aware of its importance, right? Like, this goes back to the original notion of get out of your head, right? Like, get out of here. Talk about it. Bring it to light. Like, let's share how we really feel. Let's share with the people who contribute positively to our life. Let's tell them that we appreciate them. Like, let's actually say something. With children, like, tell the kids in your house why appreciation and why talking about it is important. And the third tip here being, foster opportunities to develop it. So why does this matter, right? Like, why does it matter? Why does physical gratitude while we raise our children and within our relationships with our children, when we come home after a really long and hard day, why is it important to think about this stuff? Because the way, right, the behavior that we model for those looking up to us under our roof, the what we teach them and how we act after a long and hard day is what they grow up understanding to be appropriate and valid and justified behavior. So if our kids grow up thinking, oh, well, you know what? I can be passionate all day and come home and not care, then that's justified behavior when they're adults doing life, having children and raising them. And that's not the case, because at some point, somebody has to sit us down and say, yo, you have to say thank you. And you have to mean it. There is power that we hold in our words and our thoughts and our actions. And one of the ways that we can practice that power is by being intentional about gratitude. And it is important for us to share that with the people who positively contribute to our lives. It is important because people around us have a right to know that we see them doing awesome stuff and that we value them and that they're not taken for granted and they're not being taken advantage of. Instead, we see them, right? It's a big deal. So let's talk about a few studies that were done with kids to kind of better understand really, what happens with kids and gratitude. So there was a study done with some middle school students. So that's a fun age, right? Middle school is rough. Junior high is a rough age. Like, there's a lot of change. There's a lot of growth and development that is happening in middle school, junior high. That's a rough age. So there's a lot to be learned during it and from it. But this study was done, a controlled study was done with middle school students. And basically what they did was they told these students, or with these students every day, daily, they like counted their blessings and practiced gratitude. This was a daily thing that they did. They practiced gratitude. They encouraged these students to practice it, right? Practice, verb, action. They did something to practice gratitude. At the end of it, the students showed greater gratitude, optimism for life and stuff, life and school satisfaction, and they were kind of all around less negative. For what it's worth, these students had a better attitude. They weren't as negative. So that's a big deal. Another study was done for students within the age range of like 8 to 11. So 8 to 11 years old. The school-based curriculum actually focused on helping children to understand the experience of gratitude. So this program that the school had taught children about how gratitude works in order to promote more grateful thinking. They wanted these students to really understand kind of what you and I are talking about right now, the power of gratitude for me, for you, and for everybody around us. So after they did this program and after they taught this gratitude curriculum, the results showed that students that went through the program showed more grateful thinking, felt gratitude, behavioral expressions of gratitude, and positive, had an overall more positive effect than the children in the control condition. So the control condition, those were the students that did not go through the curriculum. So at the end of the whole thing, they compared students who went through this gratitude curriculum and students who did not. So the students who had exposure to understanding what gratitude was, why the experience of gratitude is so important, why acting on it is so important, versus those that had no exposure to the curriculum. At the end of it, when the school looked at both groups, the students who were taught about gratitude, right? This study isn't looking at when we tell kids how grateful we are for them, what are those effects. This study focused on when we taught the children what gratitude was, and that it was an articulation of recognizing the worth and the value in the people around us. Their attitudes shifted. More so than the control group, right? Because the control group didn't do anything. There's also some research to back up this kind of more general statement that the felt experience and expression of gratitude, so like going through physical gratitude, is very much in association with increased well-being in youth, which is not far-fetched, like not far-fetched in the slightest, because we just said the same thing about our workplaces and ourselves, right? Like physical gratitude makes our brain really happy, and it positively contributes to the lives of those around us. Gratitude, as spoken by Cicero, gratitude is the parent of all other virtues. Y'all, gratitude is the parent of all other virtues. It is the foundation for everything else. It's the parent of all other virtues. So as parents, we have a responsibility to our children to hold fast to that. Make gratitude the foundation, right? Physical gratitude at home really, really matters. Communicating that we recognize the worth and the value in the people who are a part of life with us, right? Our spouses, our parents, our siblings, our aunts, our uncles, our kids. Not taking for granted that they already know that we value them and that we love them is so important. It's so important. As a little girl, before my dad passed away, he did a really awesome job at letting me know that I was so loved by him. and that he really appreciated me as his kid. As silly as that sounds. And I am so grateful for every opportunity I had growing up to share with him how much he meant to me. And that only happened because my parents were very intentional about teaching me about why appreciation matters. I lost him when I was 9 years old. He passed away. And I cling to those conversations now. And there is so much closure in knowing that he loved me and that he knew I loved him. Because that's what gratitude is. It's an expression of love. And the people within our teams, our professional teams, and our offices get to see that real, raw, pedal to the metal, passion, intense hustle and hard work, and, great ethics and just commitment to excellence, 9 to 5. They get to see that. And it is important that we don't forget that our families are worth that kind of behavior and attitude too. Why else are you working? Why else are you working so diligently and so hard to provide for them? Why else? Clearly they're worth it to you. But sometimes the expression of, I've just had a really hard day and a long day and I'm tired, doesn't resonate the same as, I've had a really long day and a really hard day potentially. But man, I'm doing it for you guys and I love you and I appreciate you guys being here and being patient with me and I love you. And I love you so much. Making assumptions of value and love is dangerous because they're assumptions. My challenge for you guys this week is every day for the next 5-7 days, however long between this video and the next, I want you to tell each person in your home 3 things you value and appreciate about them. Every day. Every day for the next week, I want you to look at everybody in your house and tell them 3 things that you value and appreciate about them. And I want you to remember, and rewind to the beginning of this video if you need to. Value equals worth. Why is this person worthy? Why is this person worthy? And that's kind of a question. Thinking of it like a parent. Why is my child worthy? I don't even have kids yet and I just got chills. Why is my husband worthy? Oh, I've got a million reasons why my husband's worthy. But am I assuming he knows? Am I making the assumption that he just knows? Or am I communicating it to him? Am I telling him? Am I making him aware of how much I value him? That's my challenge to you guys this week. Every day, I want you to tell everybody in your house, and if you've got a lot of siblings, then you've got a lot to do because there is no cheating or excuses for not doing this if you're going to come back next week and watch our next video. 3 things every day about what you value and appreciate about every single person in your household. Okay? Next week, I'm very excited. It'll be week 4. We are going to talk about gratitude and self-love. So I'm super excited to see you guys back. Please come back and hang out with me next week. Thank you always for being a part of this community. Thank you for being a part of Grateful and Company, for coming back and for being engaged and for just being a part of this. You have no idea how grateful I am. And I'm so excited to see the impact this has. These kinds of conversations are really important and we don't talk about them ever. And this is worth talking about. So y'all stay tuned for more and I will see you next week. Bye.